a brief introduction to a gentleman who quickly became one of my favorite watercolor artists once I was made aware of who he was, Manel Plana. I have a friend who lives in Barcelona, and he's collected a couple of my paintings, and we've stayed in touch. And he introduced me to this man, and was kind enough to send me this book with a little inscription in the front from the artist to me. And I can't believe I didn't know who this painter was once he made me aware of him, because he's just absolutely amazing, very well accomplished, and so inspiring how he keeps things simplified. I talk about this a lot with my students when they say, when I'm teaching a workshop, and they're just like, boy, how you figured it all out. And I'm like, no, I still need to simplify a lot more. And I don't know if my brain will ever get to this point where he does. But I love the simplicity and the freshness of his little watercolors. And so I just thought I'd share a few of them with you. The title of the book, Montserrat and Their Environs. Montserrat is a mountain range near Barcelona, kind of famous for some abbeys. I'm assuming this might be a little abbey up there on the mountain. But this collection of works is all from this mountain range where he goes off to paint. Here's a photo of the artist himself. And when you're working that fast, I guess you don't need an easel. You can just hold the block of paper in your hand and paint. Again, just because they're painted quickly doesn't diminish them by any stretch of the imagination. One of the most difficult things to do is to capture the feeling of a scene and the emotions of it and make it look somewhat representational very quickly and unlabored. And he is just a master at it. Okay, so just going through a handful of his paintings here quickly for you. Montserrat from the Terrace. I just love that. I mean, the little mountain range barely peeking through up here in the distance with the trees in the foreground, that wonderful glowing complementary color scheme. The way he handles the foliage on these trees is just amazing. These quick little blotches of paint, that he puts in here and uses a little bit of negative painting to create the tree trunks. And notice how the tree trunks are not all white all the way up, okay? They're casting shadows. This tree is probably casting a shadow down onto the base of that tree. The color goes right through the pencil mark in a couple of places. Again, the shadows down here, merging it, and then the shadows behind it, kind of carving that tree out. So another good lesson on not leaving these trees all just, the same color and value and shape all the way up. There's some variety and cast shadows and stuff, and they're just so whimsically painted. These branches, you can almost feel the breeze blowing through them as well. It's a gorgeous little painting. Santa Oliva, this is very typical of his works. Even though he's painting in a mountain range, often he just kind of focuses on the top of the mountains, either a cloud breaking over the top or a little light effect. In this instance, I'm assuming this is part of one of the abbeys, maybe. But the way he paints his sky, I mean, you've got the background again, that distant mountain up here in blue, kind of obscured by a cloud breaking over the top of it. And then this wonderful, almost two-tone impression of the abbey. The light, everything was painted this tone initially. This whole area was kind of painted that light tone, let it dry, and then he's just painting that shadow shape. And the importance of keeping that shadow shape so wonderfully simple. It looks like he came in on some of those shadow shapes a little bit, before it was bone dry. You're getting a little bit of fuzzing, but people freak out about every little thing. Look how pretty these little blooms are. Blooming is, as long as it's not a huge disaster, it's part of watercolor and it's part of its charm. But the importance of paying attention to these shapes, he just painted this negative shape, but having this little zigzag on here gives the illusion that there's steps going up to the abbey there, okay? Maybe with a little hand railing or something. But just like I said, a wonderfully fresh, quick impression of this moment in time. Nothing overworked. I wish I knew what I went to Google Translate for most of these titles and stuff, and I put this in and it didn't give me a translation. It gave me the same word. But I don't know if that's a place or if, like I said, but this is just kind of a beautiful cloud effect or fog effect over the top of the mountain. Just incredible. I just love this up here. Having the skill and the facility to be able to just that quickly capture fog over the top of a mountain. And again, that little effect probably lasted mere minutes, and you don't have a lot of time. And it looks like he probably worked on some toned paper for this one too. I don't know if he put that first wash on or not, but I'm assuming it was toned paper, and he just went right into this kind of blue-gray, working its way out. But again, just if you squint at that, you can see the top of a mountain just kind of obscured in a foggy cloud. Gorgeous little impression. I'm so jealous. Montserrat in blue. A little bit more of the mountain range you're seeing this time, but again, just kind of focusing in on one or two of the peaks here. His skies are just amazing, the way he keeps them so convincing yet so simple. And I know we've talked a lot in the past about Trevor Chamberlain and Ed Seago and the like, and even Ron Ranson talks about putting warmth in your clouds and your sky. But I think people overdo it. This is a kind of a nice warm color in the clouds up here, but it's not yellow, okay? And too often I think people push that way too much. So a good idea when you're putting that warm in, a good neutral tint just with a little bit of burnt sienna sometimes works just fine for a warm cloud color, especially once you put the blue around it. The cool color just emphasizes that pale warm. So very convincing, fresh sky. I love how he came back in with the brush just real quickly and put in the little tiny peaks up above there. It almost looks like it could have been done with a pastel crayon or something, but he obviously did it with a brush and watercolor. Notice also on here how he kept most of that warmer kind of green gold in this little closer peak here, and left just some very subtle touches back there when he was probably putting in the sky. He just dropped those little colors in the background, so that helps also to give it that nice sense of distance and depth. But man, again, just the simplicity of these shadow shapes and things down here are so impressive. Environments. Just a glowing watercolor. The one thing I don't do, but I mean, it's fine. I'm not critiquing his work, but it's interesting that he put a pencil mark for where the cloud was going to be. I tend to just paint that, but there again, one of my things that I love about Charles Reed's work in particular, and now Manel's work too, is not worrying about the pencil marks. Okay, it's part of the work of art, and that quick gestural sketch that he puts in here, and you can still see it under the washes. I just love that. Actually, it just gives you a little bit of a glimpse into the thought process of the artist. These beautiful, rich colors, these tones merging into each other. This is the whole point of when I'm talking about translating your value studies to color and letting the blue merge in with the brown and back to the blue, and then merging in down here, and then this slowly merges in with the yellow and then the brighter yellow. Letting those colors just flow on the paper in these shapes is just, that's where the beauty of watercolor really shines. Okay, and working fast and simple allows you to do that when you overthink everything and try and paint every little shrub and every little rock and everything. You don't need it. When you squint down at this, all the information you need is here. I even love the way that the trees or shrubs or whatever are put in here, just kind of wet into wet and fuzzing a little bit. Helps them to look a little bit more natural. I talk about that a lot too. You have some shapes that you want to be hard edged, side of a mountain, and then some shapes that can be soft. The clouds can be soft, the trees can be softer. That timing, that's so important. This is what I was talking about with his just kind of focusing on an effect at the top of a peak. Man, I wish I owned this painting. This is such a gorgeous watercolor. This big billowing cloud. Look at the form on this cloud, how convincing that is. It looks like just a big ball, big powerful cloud coming in with the light slightly darker still, and then man, that deep shadow right over the mountain being cast on there. And again, once again, these gorgeous colors just merging into that simplified little shadow shape up there. So, just so impressive. I love that painting, man. Another one just focusing in on light on the top of it, and it's more about the cloud and the sky behind it. It might look easy, but as you know, we start module 1 with skies, and there's a reason I want you to start with that. It takes the most practice. You'd think it would be an easy thing, but it can make or break your paintings, and too often people overwork them. So I'm hoping that this is another inspiration for you when you're handling your skies. Just embrace the freshness of these clouds. Don't try and make it too perfect, especially when you're working from a photograph. We try and make it look just like that, and it's important to just kind of leave it nice and fresh. And oftentimes, I know this one had much more of a value shift in that cloud, but this is a good example when you squint at it. You don't need a drastic value shift, okay? That light and then the middle value blue, and then just kind of the slightly darker, warmer shadow color on those clouds. And it just makes it feel so nice and airy. Then this beautiful dry brush, kind of horizontal shapes flattening out the form of the mountain there. La Serra de Rubio. I love these trees blowing in the wind, the way they're bent a little bit here. Man, this shadow shape is just so gorgeous across the mountain here. I just love that. Laid on top of that green, that beautiful violet. And it was so important to keep these shadows transparent. You see that a lot in his work too. He doesn't go overboard with his shadow shapes. And a lot of that is, again, due to the fact that he's a plein air painter. Primarily, he's out there working from life. And when you work from life, your eyes see into the shadows much better than a camera does. So that's a real good indicator of someone who's painted on location, is their shadows are usually just so fresh and colorful and transparent, where you can see the wash underneath it. Okay, if this is so heavy, this violet, you're not going to see that initial green gold showing through in some of these areas underneath that. And I've talked about it before, how our one big advantage in watercolor is shadows. We're at a disadvantage almost every turn compared to oil painters. Oil painters can scrape off a whole painting, paint over the top of things, adjust it as they go. You know, it takes forever to dry, so you can rework on your painting for an entire day, and it's no problem. But for watercolors, when it comes time to painting shadows, a shadow is a transparent dark over a surface where you can see the local color through it. And because we're working with the only transparent medium, that's our ace in the hole. So you paint that whole mountain shape, one color, one value, let it dry, and then paint that beautiful, simple shadow on top of it, and it just glows. Again, incredible sky. This one, probably, if it was me, I would have put a little bit more value down here to kind of pop that and bring it forward. Just a few more darks on there. But again, I digress. I just love this up here, this sky. One more time in that mountain shape. Absolutely gorgeous. Working its way up, letting it just blend up here into the one peak into another. Those little bits of a color shift. It's almost like a violet into a blue, back into a violet, into a brown, into that green gold. Okay, just keep working on that whenever you can, that big connected shape. Don't make it too boring. Try and time it right and keep your brush wet and moving. The simple little building down here. All the information you need is there. Light side, shadow side, a couple little dashes for the windows. Your brain does the rest, fills in the blanks. Landscape with Montserrat. Another gorgeous one where he's backed off a little bit, trying to show more of the abbey or little town or something up there in the mountains. Just the simplicity that he creates. This is so Seago-esque up here, that sky of his. When you look at Ed Seago's skies, it's so impressive, so fresh. He's done the same thing up here. He's got a little bit of variety of edges, so it looks like down here it's all wet into wet. He's got just a little bit of hard edges on the tops of these clouds. Just amazing. Beautiful, beautiful painting. Oh, this street scene is absolutely amazing. I just love this thing. That little bit of blue sky merging right into the buildings here. You can see he put the building colors in while the sky was still damp. But if you just cover up that blue sky with your thumb or something, when you look at this, it doesn't mean as much. That complementary color up here was just so important at getting the glow of this scene. But talk about a good example of what I'm telling you all to do with the value studies. Find that big connected middle value shape. Starts over here, works its way around up into here, connecting, all the way up the shadow sides of these guys, connecting. Okay, one big shape. Then you come in with these little figures and signs of life and doors and windows, not overdoing it. Just looking at the way he does his windows so simply. This one was almost put in a little wet into wet up here. And this little gesture, this figure sitting on the porch. Looks like he's even got a newspaper or something in his hand, reading something. It's just so cool. I love that. Wow. Freshness in the shadows, going back to what I was talking about, the taking advantage of the transparency and translucency of watercolor when you don't overdo it. Just a few little dark details at the end to make it pop. Little tires or something. I don't know if this is a truck or a smaller building or whatever, but a few dark details, that railing, a little bit darker on that rooftop. But again, it's incredible, the simplicity of this. The light side, shadow side on these buildings that he does. I love those. What a beautiful, just a gorgeous shadow. Really, and I'm hoping you will find more of his work and let it kind of sink in. And again, this is a goal for me as well, not just for you all out there. That's why I bring these books with me. It's just to remind me, simple. Don't need to overwork it. Man, this color that he has up here and these terracotta things, the warm light and the cool shadows, going that deep and blue on that shadow side of that building, right next to all these warmer colors, really makes that pop. Another just unbelievable, simple, very ancient street. I love that title too. So cool. One big, transparent, gorgeous shadow down on the street level with everything towering up above it in light. That is just almost an abstract painting in its simplicity, but yet it reads, we know what it is. I mean, what more can I say? It's just, he's incredible at creating these simplified, glowing watercolors. This could be a really, really complicated scene. Can you imagine sitting in a street in an abbey, with trees and probably mountains around it, and painting this? Much more difficult than it looks. Keeping things simple. This is, I talk about that Skip Lawrence book sometimes, and just his color use. This is just crazy. The amount of colors, the variety in that big connected shape. Just this little area alone looks like it has 12 different color shifts in it, and yet the values are the same, and they're mixing and merging. It looks natural. It's not gaudy. Just gorgeous, luminous color, keeping things fresh. And that's another goal for from the value studies. The less you have to go over and work things and darken them and mess around in there, you're not going to get this, okay? That glowing work. You've got to get a handle on trying to get the shapes and values right, and put those colors down, get it once, and let it be. Love this little area here too, with the trees breaking through and seeing the light through the abbey. But this one, just looking at that big shadow shape is what just blows me away. All those lovely colors. So fun. I absolutely love his trees. They're so cool. These little dots and dashes. Almost looks like a hot air balloon over there. But we know that they're trees. Okay, the more you try and make things look like things, usually the worse they get. giving these little impressions of things. It works just fine. Again, if it was me, I might have just brought this up a little bit into a connection or something. Those shapes are a little broken up, but I digress. Gorgeous. The mountain range, light side, shadow side. This formation that you see in those mountains is very unique. It seems like you see that kind of those peaks in a lot of his paintings. Wow. It glows. Again, these charming little trees. It's got such a flair for those. Complementary color scheme. Orange and blue. Morning lights. Beautiful. The tops of the colony. Sky. I've raved about skies as clouds. Amazing. Translucent, beautiful, colorful shadows. Amazing. A little bit of dark calligraphy for some details. Done. That's the one from the cover of his book. Montserrat at dusk. Awesome. The negative painting that he did here. That's a great exercise, and the value shifts that you need. It's dusk. It doesn't have to be black. I mean, those lights glow with the value that's around it. They look like they're, the interior lights are shining. He had to get this dark down here around that doorway. Putting that right next to that makes those lights look like they're on, getting dark enough. But you didn't have to go that heavy on the mountain range. I mean, that's almost a true middle value almost. There's not a big value shift between the mountain range and the sky, or the mountain range and the value and color of the abbey. But the importance of those last dark details to help pop those lights. Super cool. And this looks like the mountain range that I was talking about again. Those formations, I've seen them. I don't know how many of these paintings will show that, but in his book you see a lot of those. Again, they're kind of tucked over here, looking down. This is a really tricky perspective, looking down at these figures. But again, under the skill of his brush, capturing them there, milling about. I don't know if they're tourists. You can take tours of those abbeys now, or whoever's down there, but gazebo and canopy. This canopy is so convincing too, with the cast shadow below it under the ground. Wow. Look at this distant mountain range, just that gray color just fading back with the bare minimum of detail, and yet it reads so well. These big towering things coming up on the side. Again, gorgeous color shifts. I just love how he's willing to mute things, tone things down, grays, greens, blues, and then sometimes just unbelievable use of color. Old parking lot. Didn't know they had cars back then. Again, these monuments, so simple, so beautiful. Focusing in on a light effect. Oh, man, I've got to improve on my simplicity. There's those big, towering, kind of rounded mountain peaks behind the abbey. Wow. How impressive is all of this? The implied detail with the windows and the architecture, and beautiful little use of these wavy lines for stairs, steps leading up to the abbey. Again, those wonderful little figure shapes milling about to give it a sense of life and activity. And look at how these mountains are just merging into the sky in areas, dropping those colors in wet into wet, keep them the hard edge detail and a little bit more contrast down here, well, much less contrast up here, and even soft edges, even though it's mountains going into sky. That little touch of warmth up here, that warmer red. Man, that is amazing. Oh, this looks like an English garden or something. That is just so beautiful, the light of the gardens. One little area with a bit more contrast, kind of a focal area, I guess, with the trees and the shadows leading to it and the light And this is just so whimsical, this brushwork over here. Man, but this is what I was saying as far as the contrast too. You don't have to go overboard with the shadow side, the light side, shadow side. This reads very well. All the softness, the wet into wet with all the organic shapes of trees and shrubs and shadows, and even the fencing and the wall is fuzzing. You've got a few little hard edge light areas preserved, but most of that fenced area is actually fuzzing in and merging with the background behind it. The watchtowers, that light effect, catching that gorgeous warm glow hitting this peak here and casting that cool shadow down below it. Another fresh, gorgeous sky. This brushwork is just so. This is why you don't draw shadows, okay? And that's why I was kind of surprised at that one where he actually drew the cloud too with the pencil mark. But those free form shapes, just painting them convincingly. And how many times have we done shadows and then you try and fix it or go over it again, or it's just too contrived or whatever. Okay, it takes a long time to just have the skill and confidence to paint those shadows in like that, not fill in a pencil mark and just get them right and leave them. Much more convincing that way. Holy mackerel, monoliths. This is just, that's a Skip Lawrence painting too with the color. My goodness. Wow. I don't even know what that is. It's got to be like pure cadmium lemon almost. And then once again, with accented with some of those violets and things to pop it off. But so gorgeous, so simple. This little structure down here, using the shadow side to give this nice form on the edge of the mountain there as it turns the corner. And then these gold, or these kind of violety brown gold trees down here. And once again, who cares? The mountain is fuzzing with the sky. It's not the end of the world. You still get the beautiful sense of it. Last but not least, The Enchanted Friars, the title of that one. Inspiration. I love that it was that was in the title in the book, The Enchanted Friars, and in parentheses, inspiration. And that's why I pulled this book out in the first place, for some more inspiration. So anyways, we'll wrap this up. Sorry, again, it was just kind of a shorter one, but I just wanted to, it's important to, expose yourself to other artists, and even in this world of social media and overexposure for people and stuff, sometimes it's amazing how incredibly talented artists who have been around a long time somehow manage to elude me. And so again, I'm very, very grateful that my friend introduced me to Manel, because he quickly, as I said, became one of my favorite artists and a great source of inspiration on keeping things nice and fresh and simple. So take care, everyone. Hi, my name's Andy Evansen. Over the course of this year, I'll be discussing a lot of ways to improve your paintings with a focus on watercolor in particular. Watercolor is a popular medium, but there are technical issues that can become stumbling blocks during the learning process. The painting becomes a lot more fun once you solve them and can start refining your craft. I'll cover topics that are unique to watercolor, such as painting wet and wet, the timing and consistency of your washes, the importance of drawing and negative shape making, and more. I'll also be talking a lot about how vital it is to have a plan. The transparent nature of watercolor means you're limited in the amount of fixing you can do once you've started, and indecisiveness, that's what leads to the weak, muddy paintings. Because this course spans a calendar year, you'll be able to see me painting outdoors on location as well as in the studio. We can talk about the differences and similarities of both. I've taught dozens of 3 to 5 day workshops, and most of the time, just as students are starting to figure things out, it's time to say goodbye. This course through Tucson Art Academy Online allows me to work with you for an entire year, so we'll be able to get into things that just aren't possible in a 4-day workshop. As an artist who also loves to teach, I'm really excited about the possibilities of this. I hope you'll join me.